Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, so much of our long-range forecast here at the beginning of my video is kind of be focused on what's controlling the ocean temperatures. It's both the wind field and then the response and the change in the ocean temperatures. This weekend, we're going to get all brand new long-range forecast data from the European model, so we're going to kind of get ourselves set up for that discussion, which will largely be focused on what's going on with this La Nina here and the colder water that's here in the Gulf of Alaska. Now, this La Nina has been fading. And that's a big part of what we need to be looking at, because studying La Ninas going back to the 1950s, we can look at every single one of them that's faded at this time of year and seeing what happens. We're going to reconstruct the past. Now, this past January favored a big ridge that was in place here. And that's not necessarily too common when there is a La Nina. Typically, they're farther out to the west, which means the flow would come over like this and then dive into the northwest. But this year, that ridge in January was here, and as a result, the flow came out of the northwest across the central part of the United States before curling around this big trough that was over the Hudson Bay area. The net effect of that pattern was California, parts of California here and Nevada, record dryness in the month of January. There was an area in through here that did not pick up much snow. Same thing for the upper Midwest and even the interior of New England. And our drought in southern Texas up into parts of Kansas continued to expand, although now at the beginning of this month, we've seen some better precipitation, of course, with that monstrous winter storm that's still rolling through this area. But all of that was before the latest drought monitor was released, and you're not going to see much change in the drought monitor here when you get the new February update, because most of this was produced, or it was all produced by February 1st, and our storm began on Groundhog's Day. Now, that storm system kind of mimicked something we've been missing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, the flow came around like this and split into the Gulf of Alaska. So this is where our split is located. We had northerly flow through the mountains on February 1st and 2nd, and it made a hard turn through Texas. Now, what that did was something we've not seen in this area. We got southwest flow. Now, normally, if we wanted to really have a ton of moisture coming to California and a lot going into the desert southwest, and then into the southern plains, we got to have a subtropical part of the jet stream. We just haven't had it. But we kind of faked it right in through here, and that pulled the moisture in up out of the south, and the net effect of all of this was through this morning. Now, this was through Thursday morning. These maps update twice a day here. We had quite a bit of snow pushing up against the front range of the Rockies here in New Mexico, and 2 to 6 inches that kind of fell throughout the southern plains. Now, how much liquid is in that? Not much. But here, coming out of eastern Oklahoma into Kansas, through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan, through early this morning, quite a bit of heavy snow, including a swath in here of 6 to 15 inches. Now, the snow since then has been here with an ice storm that has brewed south of it. So this, again, was through this morning. All day long, we watched that ice storm take shape. But how much liquid was in this thing? So what I want to point out is, well, let's just draw the line right here. If you're west of that line, even though some snow's on the ground, the total amount of liquid in it is relatively limited. But much better rains through this part of Texas, much of the Mid-South, although a lot of this was ice right here along the Mississippi River and Ohio River. And we've got a lot of snow that just came in through here that's starting to melt. Big storms have rolled through parts of the southeast as well, and there have been some drier pockets in through there. But this wasn't largely corrective on the drought issues we had here in the southern plains. Oh, and it didn't bring anything to the upper Midwest. Didn't bring anything to the northern plains. California has been quite dry this week as well. Now, snow we filled in here. There's still a snow hole to the south of it that's been trying to get filled in throughout the day on Thursday. But take note of this area right in through there as well. In fact, the easiest way to see that is to compare it to the climatological average. Feel free to pause the video and take a close look at this. This was through this morning on February the 3rd, looking at snowfall compared to average through this point in the year. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this and where it could potentially go, and I pulled off all of those February through March fading La Nina years. And they tended to take that ridge back closer to the Aleutian Islands, and that's a critical part of this discussion we're about to have. Because the farther west it goes, the better we could return onshore flow to the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. And then if we get a ridge that develops somewhere here over the southeast, systems have to roll up over the top of that, returning moisture from the southern plains, here clear through the whole of the plains into the Midwest all the way to the east. This would be, if the pattern could do this, very corrective on some of the drought issues we've seen in the month of January. Now, here's the other part of this. Those same years, we tended to have the MJO in those years really favoring this area. That's about phase 3 to phase 4, maybe a little bit into phase 5. And why I'm concerned about that is because right now the latest forecast updates say the best velocity potentials are sitting in the Indian Ocean over phases 3 and phase 4. And do you notice how straight up and down it is on this Hofmuller diagram, not slanted? There's no indication that that's going to change anytime soon. The models are picking up on it. You can see that instead of what I thought last week where the MJO was going to quickly come out into phase 5, they've come out now into phase 3, and they're going to curl around in phase 3 for a while, which means we could spend a big chunk of February into phase 3. And we know something about that. If the MJO is our most dominant teleconnection, there is better evidence that we're going to push that ridge to the west. Now again, that is only if the MJO is the dominant teleconnection, and the MJO is directly related to what's going on with this La Nina. See what you end up getting? Troughs in this area. Flow coming across the U.S. like this, dipping down into the southern plains, running up over a weak ridge in this area. And that particular setup would provide much better precipitation for places that need it. From California through the southern plains, back into the Midwest, the upper Midwest, and we'd fill in some of that snow hole that's here in the Dakotas and Nebraska. Now, what does the National Weather Service say about this? They released their forecast on the 31st. Let's go have a look at it. This is what their outlook is for February. If I look at the precip side of it, I got clippers coming down here out of the prairie into the northern plains and a very active Ohio River Valley and mid-Mississippi River Valley storm track. With no subtropical jet, California, we continue to see the drier conditions. If there is a ridge over the southeast, that's what favors the above average temperatures that run up the east coast. But is this mimicked, especially this precipitation forecast by the European? Well, this is the new data this afternoon. It's the end of February all the way through March 21st. And we got this area active on precip. We've now seen a reduction in how dry this whole region is, including California, because the model is attempting to bring that ridge farther to the west. That's very much what we'd expect with MJO Phase 3. So the flow comes into the northwest, dips down like this, and then runs up through the Ohio River Valley. That means we're biased too dry here in the model, but this will be the key region to watch. Can we get enough systems to pull on Gulf moisture to work on the drought that's in the southern plains? I'm worried about California. It's going to take a big push of that ridge west before we can get better flow into California. But the Pacific Northwest did go over wetter in the latest run. That's your big picture looking longer term. Now again, Monday, brand new 7-month outlook. I'll bring that all to you on Monday mornings or Monday evening's forecast. In the meantime though, just a quick comparison to 2021. This is the polar vortex today, February 3rd, 2022. Why I mentioned 2021 was this is what it looked like a year ago. Split into two pieces, big ridge in the stratosphere here, and this is what helped bring that just brutally cold flow all the way down to the south that we have witnessed and endured last February, not this year. So what is going on this year? Let's get the latest update here, and we'll update this. We still have winter storm warnings from Texas all the way to Maine. We have ice storm warnings across a broad area here of the mid-Mississippi River Valley in Tennessee and Arkansas and Mississippi, and then the Ohio River Valley in through here. But this system is moving quickly toward the east, and on the southern side of it, we did have severe weather that came out in this today. A line of storms ripped through this part of parts of Mississippi and Alabama. You can see it here on this radar animation from this whole system. To a broad shield of precip, there's the storms feeding on that moisture and unstable air right there coming through. We'll have to wait to see if there was damage out of these. I was just watching them live on radar when I was recording. But our overall setup is very much the same. We have just around this big ridge, we're feeding in that moisture, and it's kind of deforming right along the axis of deformation here. And that's our main system, and it's pulling off toward the north and east. I'd like to show it to you by going first to the high-res NAM. Now, if we get this out to about when I'm recording, about 6 o'clock in the evening here on Thursday, we can see that we've backed off on the ice that just blanketed this part of the where the Ohio and Mississippi River come together. Some places here picking up well in excess of a ½ inch of ice. Well, as we go through the overnight hours on Thursday, you can see that ice threat spreads here into New England, and then this is getting into Friday early morning. Got the snow finally coming around the backside, hitting southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, over into Ohio, and then spreading into New England. Now, at that point, the leftover rain moves through Friday afternoon into the southeast. There's a little clipper that brings in some light snow to Wisconsin, and that front pushes on through finally. And what we're going to watch for the weekend is Saturday midday, a little clipper comes out of the plains of Canada and rolls into the northern plains of the United States and goes right to Lake Superior. That's what we got. Now, just to show you how much rain we could possibly get out of this, I'm making some new maps for you. I'm excited to start showing these. I got some numbers overlaid so you can see a little bit better here. With that frontal boundary about right here when I was recording this afternoon sliding through, out ahead of it we could still get another 1 to 3 inches of rain out of these storms rolling through this area. But if we talk about the ice, the threat has moved east now, and you can see where it is in parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio, stretching into Pennsylvania, New York. That's the area that's got the greatest probability of picking up 1/10 of an inch of ice as this whole system slides toward the north and east. Its biggest impact was already right in through here today on Thursday. Multi-model analysis. Let's see where this is going to go. GFS is on the left, Europeans on the right. So we've already seen up to Saturday. There's our little clipper coming in behind it. Big Arctic high here sitting over the east. Now guess what? This pattern returns a ridge in the west. In fact, you can see it very clearly. I'm playing out here into Monday. There's possibly going to be a system that could bring in some rain to the southeast. See it right there, Sunday night and Monday morning. But other than that, light snow showers moving through the Great Lakes. Big high pressure cell building off the coast. So what that high pressure cell does is takes our flow like that. And there's a lot of convergence in this flow. So play and watch. I'll just do it quickly. Tuesday into Wednesday, into Thursday, and Friday of next week. You saw it. Let's go backward. Either model. Look at either one. We got clippers that roll through. Could bring some precip to the northern plains. Could get into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes states. But these aren't big systems. Those are just clippers running over that pattern. What can we expect out of it? Well, you can kind of see what we're getting here for the next 5 days, at least around the Great Lakes, not much. All the actions here with the system leaving. So again, you can kind of look at this, match up the colors, but also see the numbers on how much snow the European model is currently forecasting. Again, we could get another 6 to 10 inches in this area with some locally higher amounts based on elevation as this system leaves us. From there, though, I just want to make a point here. Once you look out past that storm, all this green you see here goes away. And we get clippers that roll through, bringing in better precipitation into this area. But outside of that, southern plains, southeast, and the west coast, very dry as the ridge runs over. So when do we get rid of that ridge? Well, by day 10, we're starting to see some fluctuation here. As we go from the 13th into the 14th, 15th, and 16th, our ridge is trying to get into the Gulf of Alaska and move this direction. Not very successful, though. But do you see this broader trough in place? This would tell me that around the 15th, 16th, and 17th, again, we're going to have a system that's going to come out into the southern part of the United States and probably be quite impactful. So I'm going to tell you, watch the 15th, 16th, and 17th based upon these ensemble forecasts. Bringing another trough through, exciting the pattern right into this area. Precip, though, the west stays dry until we break this down. So when does that happen? When does the MJO Phase 3 take shape and start to help out? It won't be until we get past mid-month. This is too dry in this area for late in week 2 because, as I said, 15th, 16th, 17th, we're going to see a system probably come out of this area and go rolling through the same region the one that we just saw went through. It will be different. It will be a different setup, but it's going to go through there. Let's finish up with temperatures. Here were today's high temperatures on Thursday, very cold in the southern plains, but the east, you're going to hang on to your warmth the longest before by the time we get into Saturday, we're going to replace that. Look at what comes in here, though. Mild conditions on Saturday, little shot at some colder air on Sunday, but it doesn't last long. There's Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. The west is under the ridge, the downslope flow here, bringing in mild conditions into the plains. My goodness, what a volley we've seen here in the temperatures so far in the month of February. Beyond that, let's talk day 10 through 15, or day 5 through 10, excuse me. We still have our ridge in place at that point. So you can see the split on temperatures. The very mild conditions here plus the warmth in California. But you know that the pattern's trying to adjust mid-month. And if the ridge backs up, we can start to bring in that colder air and set us up for a more active pattern coming through this area. That will be the changes we're going to have to be watching for. All right, appreciate your attention today. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Thanks.